This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
I've got two suggestions regarding what the logo, the Steph Curry was sported on that jacket, that fashionable jacket.
Yep.
One, let me see if I can find it, is that it is it's the logo. The logo it's an Under Armour logo, which I guess these could both be true. Somebody else is saying the jacket is the new WNBA team jacket in San Francisco, the San Francisco Valkyrie. That's their logo. So is it maybe the Valkyrie is using Under Armour stuff? I don't know. But maybe I thought it's let's put it this way. If I'm ranking jackets and including the Rob Pelinka jacket out of California and the Steph Curry jacket, I'm picking the Steph Curry jacket.
That's a really nice jacket.
I like that look a lot better than the Pelinka jacket. Plus, I think the Curry jacket's a little bulkier.
Yes.
So, because you can't have any excess weight if you're going to wear the Pelinka jacket, especially if you're going to wear it 2 sizes too small. Correct?
So I can see the Under Armour logo on the jacket. I don't think that's the Valkyrie.
You don't think that's the Valkyrie?
Though. I'm going to look it up here.
Is that their nickname?
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's a good nickname.
Yeah, that's not the Valkyrie logo.
By the way, as part of the conspiracy, the Dallas conspiracy, they got both number ones.
Oh, that's right.
Let's not forget they got the
Paige Beckers.
Hopkins' own Paige Beckers too. How about that for some marketing possibilities? Beckers and
Flag.
Cooper Flag together. That's pretty good, isn't it?
From Duke and UConn, respectively.
I mean, you can build around those two. Each team can build around those individuals, can they not?
If they're doing it right.
They're doing it right, yeah.
Multiple sources, by the way. I got text from a Wolves season ticket holder and multiple Timberwolves employees telling me, first of all, confirming there will be a T-shirt on every seat tomorrow night. And to the concern from the texter about potential sizing issues, they do have a limited number of double XLs and triple XLs available at guest services if you want to swap them out. So if you want to participate and get the shirt.
Want to participate, you're not given a choice about whether you want to participate. So now you're telling people you're at your seat, then you're going to have to get up, find wherever that spot is.
Very easy.
Fight the crowds to get to it. Spend an extra $80 on food, and try to, I guess, stay away from the mouse droppings, and then to get a shirt that might fit you. Find one.
The option is there for you.
Okay, fair enough.
If you can't fit into an XL and you want one that's a little bit bigger, they've got the option for you.
Okay.
You know, an observation last night. I walked around the Chase Center last night. At
is
halftime.
It impressive?
Yeah, it's cool. But
you wouldn't call it awe-inspiring?
No. Well, it's hard to know, like, compared to Target Center, obviously, it seems much nicer. I'm trying to think. I haven't been to a ton of NBA arenas. So United Center I've been to, Footprint Center in Phoenix I've been to. I really want to go see the Ballmer building, the Clippers Intuit Dome.
With the wall?
But you know what I couldn't believe I saw in a building that was built, 3-4 years ago? The longest halftime bathroom lines I've ever seen.
Really?
For a men's bathroom.
Is that right?
It was.
They need troughs.
I just can't believe that when you build a new building from scratch, because that's Ballmer's bit in L.A.
Yeah.
He basically said, no one in the NBA has more bathrooms than we do.
No, basically they got a bathroom for every person.
More or less. He says, I want to get you in there out of there and back into your seat. The halftime line was insane to me. So I don't know.
What did you do?
Well, I didn't have to go.
I see.
I was just walking around, and I'm looking around going, this is ridiculous. It's going to take the entire halftime. And I know you've got 20,000 people in one building. Not everything's going to be seamless. It just struck me as odd, given that you have some control over that.
How meaty was the red eye? Was it packed?
Actually, it wasn't very full, I don't think. Yeah, it was great.
You don't think? You were on it.
Well, I know, but
you can't always tell.
It's midnight, and I'm not counting sheep.
Yeah.
I was basically trying to get in there to go to bed.
Plus, you're not going to be with the peasants anyway, so you're.
It was nice that the medallion upgrade came through last night.
There you go.
That was very helpful for me to sleep. Twins and Orioles aren't going to play tonight, if people are wondering. So if you're going to 1261 on Xfinity a little bit later and saying we want to watch the Twins,
I think it's going to be a doubleheader tomorrow.
I'm trying to pull up the release.
I'm pretty sure what I saw was we're going to make it up with a twin bill tomorrow. Hottest team in baseball. I texted you. Is any shot of getting Gleeman this week, or is it going to be too hard now that it's already Tuesday? Because usually we get them on a Tuesday. Or does that matter with Gleeman?
We usually get them on Thursdays.
Oh, we do? Oh, okay. Well, that shows how much I'm paying attention.
It's potential.
I'm just saying. I mean, I know it's going to get crowded. Oh, by the way, we're going to have Posner either Wednesday or Thursday. Change of pace to talk Pope. A couple of other things. There's a lot of talk about the alleged breakthrough regarding pharmaceutical costs. And as a guy who's been covering that story for decades, he's got some opinions there. So we got a lot of good stuff. And obviously, we will not ignore the A topic.
Let's push for Thursday for Posner, because tomorrow Michael Grady's going to join you, it sounds like.
But not from the cage.
Early in the show, not from the cage. Okay. And we'll probably have some bonus Johnny tomorrow, as well as Pat Kessler.
Okay.
Who I'm sure is jumping on the Wolves bandwagon and going to the game tomorrow night.
He still doesn't even know who our starters are. But
it is a traditional single admission doubleheader tomorrow. So if people want to hop out to Baltimore tomorrow, get one single admission doubleheader.
The old-fashioned doubleheader.
There you go, the ones you grew up on.
Yeah.
So that's happening tomorrow. What else did we have today? It is official. The Vikings are heading to Dublin, and they're heading to London.
Kind of the worst-kept secret of the last couple of weeks, correct?
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I was going to say. They become the first team to play back-to-back international games in different countries. I think Jacksonville's played twice in London back-to-back.
How many formula stories are we going to have on, the challenges involved in being there for 2 straight weeks when it's never been done, and all the special programs that we put in place to be sure that we do not skip a beat. And apparently, I didn't even know this, London is our territory.
Yes.
So that's part of the reason is we can make money through licensing deals. That's part of the reason we're going, going back.
We play the Browns at Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday, October 5th. And then the week before at Croke Park in Dublin, we play the Steelers September 28th. Beauty of it for you and me, no Sunday shows for either one of us that week.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Back-to-back 8:30 Central start times.
And I guess I did not realize this until it was confirmed by Gessling. No, maybe it was Seifert, actually, I read today. We have never lost internationally, either in the preseason or the regular season. We are undefeated outside of the United States of America. Did you know that?
If I was pressed on it, I would have figured it out, but I didn't just know it off the top of my head. So to answer your question, let's just do a quick attendance. Star Tribune, Gessling will write about it. The operation. Alec Lewis will write about it. Seifert will write about it. All the TV stations will do something. So that's 4, 5, 9, and 11.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They'll all, I'm trying to think, Ron Johnson's
I don't think it's even
Locked On
possible
Vikings
that Johnny
podcast.
might not do a deep dive on it.
He probably will.
Like comparing it, for example, to, is it the Kuwaiti Cup? Where do we play where's the NBA play some preseason games? Is it Kuwait? No, not Kuwait. I can't remember where they go. The Middle East, right? Dubai?
Yeah.
It's Dubai, isn't it? Yeah, yes. Dubai. Comparing it, the challenges that are involved in it. And of course, challenge is relative because obviously this is all first-class travel. Although with a football team, it gets probably a little more challenging regarding, first class accommodations and so forth. But
we'll have to find out when we read the stories.
Yes, that's for
I'm
sure.
not going to presuppose.
So, and as you said, these are both road games for us, so we don't lose any home games this year either.
It's a nice deal for us.
Yeah.
And we lose 2 real road games, in the hostile territory of, Pittsburgh,
and
for
we're
sure.
supposed to beat both of those teams. Although, interestingly, again, it could be A-Raj again. Like, we beat A-Raj in London last year, right?
Yes, when he was with the Jets.
Right.
We did. Where did I want to go? We got a straddle here in a second. We've talked a lot of lottery. The Mavs won that. NBA playoffs continue tonight.
Well, wink, wink, they won it. Yeah, they won it because it was handed to them. You know that.
Indiana looking to eliminate Cleveland in Cleveland tonight. They lead Cleveland, by the way, 8.5-point favorites. That game tips off about 50 minutes from now. And then pivotal
Cleveland's
game 5.
8.5-point favorites?
According to ESPN Bet. I'm on ESPN.com right now.
Is who's the injured? Who's the
Mitchell?
guard? Is he going to play?
I haven't seen anything. I'd have to imagine if they're 8.5-point favorites, he's got to be in.
They were down by 40 the last game. There's been some weird games in this. As entertaining as it's been, then there have been some blowouts that don't even make any sense.
And then pivotal game 5 in Oklahoma City with the Nuggets and Thunder. Will Jokic make a shot?
He can't shoot.
He's wearing down.
He cannot make a shot.
It's
like
the
you
war
said,
of attrition.
if he makes like 3 more shots in that game, they're up 3-1 rather than 2-2. That was their opening. I believe they started the fourth quarter with a 6-point lead and scored first. I think they were up 8 or 9.
Yes, they were.
And then Okie City kind of took over from there. And as you said, I think his turnover number has been high as well. So, yeah, it has not gone well offensively for the Joker. And we've all talked about he's most, dangerous when he's assisting. But I think he only had like 3 assists the last game as well. Do you buy
Missing
the
a lot of free
notion
throws.
that even though we're against load management on this show and we mock and ridicule the schedule loss concept, that to a certain extent that could have been a schedule loss for either team that lost the game, when the turnaround in the NBA playoffs is basically 36 hours, that is a little ridiculous? I kind of think it is.
I don't think they're giving themselves their best shot for a great product.
No.
And
they did. The first half was the lowest scoring half, I believe, in the history of the NBA playoffs.
Yes, because they went to overtime on Friday night, right? They pour everything in there. And you just start to look at the cumulative weight of, now, some of it's probably unavoidable, but how many games Golden State has had to play on a basically every other day timeline now, right?
Yes.
Denver's been in the same thing. Denver goes 7 with the Clippers, right? So I don't know how it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be the war of attrition, but they're also sometimes in a hurry to start the next series. I don't think given 2 days off in between a 7-game series would probably be the worst thing.
It wouldn't be the worst thing, but I would say especially if you're going to go every other day, then don't have that game, those two teams play the late game
right
in the previous game and then play an afternoon early game 2 days later. That is more. That's not 48 hours. Right? That's 36 hours. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Schedule loss for either team.
Pretty much, yeah. Could have been.
TheFanandBigDeck.com. I'm going to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword bills at KFAN.com. It's our final keyword of the evening. KFAN.com. Enter the keyword bills.
How do you ban 15,000 so-called violent fans from attending an event? We'll talk about that. We'll also get to a huge ESPN-related update that I'm very much intrigued by. More on the NBA playoffs, maybe even some A-section material regarding the proverbial draining of the swamp. Stay tuned.
Hey, friend, I know how this feels. Waking up exhausted after multiple trips to the bathroom and feeling embarrassed by sudden leaks. I used to be constantly on edge, searching for a restroom whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Woman. I was skeptical at first, but 2 months in, everything changed. I experienced improved bladder control, no more heart-stopping moments when I laugh or sneeze, less urge to go, deeper and more restful sleep. I finally felt like myself again, confident and in control. Better Woman is natural, effective, clinically tested, and trusted by women for over 25 years. Ready to take back your control? Head over to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.
Carboni's Pizzeria wants to fuel your playoff party. You can visit one of their 30-plus locations to enjoy delicious pizza and get ready for the playoff run. Find your nearest Carboni's today at carbonispizza.com.
Top 5 at 5 addendum. We mentioned it earlier in the show. Peter Edward Rose is no longer on the lifetime banned Major League Baseball list. He and a number of other players, including Shoeless Joe Jackson, now in theory have the opportunity to be voted into the Hall of Fame. The commissioner made that announcement, at least via press release. I don't know if there was actually a press conference of any sort, saying exactly that. That in effect saying, well, once you die, whatever scandal is associated with you is not going to get in the way of you being eligible to be voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I have no problems with this. I've said for years that I would not vote for him. I'm not with the crowd on this, that, oh, come on, let's let bygones be bygones, and the game's changed and life goes on, and he was a great player. We already know he was a great player. I still maintain that his crimes, as odd as this sounds, go beyond what might be criminal activity away from the diamond. His related literally to integrity of the game. His literally was his transgressions were a slap at the face of every ticket buyer who earnestly paid money to go to see a game that he managed. And you can say, well, you always bet on him to win. I don't want to go down the road why that's a meaningless distinction, but I'm fine just to end the noise if he gets voted in. I will respect the majority, whatever, not the majority, I guess what you need, 80%? Whatever the vote, whatever you need for
well, he would
entry.
Be a different category,
right.
The Veterans Committee, whatever they call it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe there's not even a vote. Maybe there's no voting component of that at all regarding the sport, the writers, the baseball writers. Regardless, if that'll end this silly notion that he's been wronged and it's just not right what you've done to him, and how dare you, and how sanctimonious can you be? Sanctimonious enough to believe that if you thumb your nose at ticket buyers, you don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But that's my opinion. I'm perfectly willing to respect others who, through whatever method he could get in, vote or meet in committee and by whatever however their process is to get him in. And now presumably that process could start. And the beauty of it is we're not going to have to read more stories about how wronged Pete Rose has been, and how we've talked about this before, folks who want to out individuals who won't vote for him, or who almost as if their opinion is the only opinion that anybody could have. So that is a pretty big item at this point, given the obviously impact of Pete Rose as a Major League Baseball star. So the World Cup is in the U.S. this summer, correct?
Is that this summer?
It is this summer,
wow.
Yeah, which I was reminded of this yesterday. And this is interesting to me. Here's your headline. Argentina bans 15,000 violent fans from stadiums during Club World Cup in the U.S. this summer. Argentine Security Minister Patricia Bullrich handed the United States Embassy in Buenos Aires a list of 15,000 violent football fans from Argentina. They'll all be banned from stadiums.
Excuse me?
They will not be allowed. I guess Bullrich provided the list on Monday, roughly 1 month before the expanded tournament, which will feature two of the country's most famous clubs, River Plate and Boca Juniors. Bullrich, apparently, this was like a big deal, sort of dramatic presentation. She unrolled the long list of these violent fans during a televised press conference, as seen in a clip published by Clarín, Argentina's largest newspaper. The list was compiled through the government's Tribuna Segura program, which roughly translates to Safer Stands. Tool allows officials to detect people who've been banned from stadiums in Argentina, and they've used the tool to monitor more than 4 million people across 1,328 matches, detecting 1,166 people with arrest warrants and issuing more than 40 resolutions to restrict their entry. So what was the total number I said? 15,000 violent fans.
It's a tough list to get on.
Hello to the soccer community.
Seriously.
They always tell us that you mock them too much about the level of violence.
It's a beautiful game.
Is there any other game besides the beautiful game that has a list that includes... This is just one country. 15,000 violent fans. And by the way, how legit is the list? Do we know? I mean, did they vet properly? Are there some folks who are perfectly... They're just a little rowdy that got on this list? Do you have to be arrested to have gotten on this list?
Yeah, right. What gets you on the list? That's what we need to know.
Yeah.
And we talked about it with the Draymond stuff, from game 2 it was, with the fans that, one of them was kicked out for the language that he was using towards, Draymond. And
I guess this is, by the way, Club World Cup. I guess that's not the same as the World Cup. Is that true?
I don't even know.
I'm all
There's
confused.
so many soccer leagues and relegation and tournaments and Gold Cup and
this must be like the precursor to the real World Cup in 2026. I guess I don't know because it's called the Club World Cup. But that I just found that fascinating. It's like, man, that's a lot of people, and I'm wondering, given the presentation, it almost comes off a little performative here. Is this a real effort to hold people responsible for reckless, dangerous, illegal behavior, or is this some kind of statement you're trying to make, some kind of production you're trying to make where you're showing off a little bit too much? Because to me, do you have to have a big presentation on it where you unfurl
I kind of like
the
it.
Names? So
I kind of like it. Make it you want a nice environment for everybody.
Yeah,
have your fun, cheer for your team, but you don't need the fights and you don't need the violence. I'm good with that.
It's not the World Cup; it's the Club World Cup, which involves all kinds of violence and extortion from the fans themselves. I need more information. 763 guy.
Yeah.
What do I not know about Club World Cup?
There's probably a lot of illegal betting activities. There's probably throwing games. There's probably point shaving. There's a lot of controversy in some of these lower level tournaments.
Here's the detail. The expanded Club World Cup will run from June 14, so that's not that far off, till July 13th, and it features 32 teams from around the world. The tournament is expected to be a dry run for U.S. cities ahead of the men's World Cup.
Oh, I like that.
Which indeed is in 2026. Boca and River, two of Argentina's most recognized clubs with a historic rivalry, will feature in several parts of the country. So there you have it. I just man, that's that. I mean, we get stories, anecdotally about soccer violence, right? And it's pretty significant. It's pretty severe.
Can be very scary.
But when it's one country has declared there's at least 15,000 of us that no longer deserve to be going to any of these events, and presumably then they'll be blocked from coming, and they certainly can't get through at the southern border because that's been closed down by President Trump. They can't get there they can't get through that way, can they?
Not that way. Yeah. Nope.
Well, I think the only way you can get through is if they pretend to be South Africans, because apparently we're bringing a bunch of South Africans in. We're waving them in. No one else can come, but we're waving a bunch of them in as quickly as possible. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. I do have some swamp stuff to get to if I get a chance later, and we do have to explore the big, huge ESPN news. Unveiling a direct-to-consumer streaming service. You know what they're going to name it?
Isn't it ESPN?
ESPN.
It's pretty clever.
Very clever. Well, it's when you have that kind of
brand identity,
you don't need anything else, do you?
You do not.
I think it's $29.95 a month. Is that what I saw?
That's $29.99
per month.
Yes.
You don't need traditional cable. You don't need a streaming subscription. $29.99. I wonder how good that's going to go. Maybe we'll ask Louie about that. We'll get to some hockey conversation as well. If you have hockey questions for Luigi, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. 64686 is the number. Back in just a
Well, she sneaks around the world from India to Carolina. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. She'll take you for a ride on a slow boat to China. Tell me, where in the world is
Lou Nanne?
Well, we got got to give Louis crap early because we know he's not here. Even though, did we break 90 again today? We were definitely in the 80s. I know that. Louis joined us via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. Your Kemp's commercial, the one that ran earlier today, you're unbelievable. Because the premise of the commercial was, and now that we're back going outside, you never stopped going outside because you're always in Florida. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, right.
I'm coming back tomorrow.
Are you really?
Yes.
Well, here's the bad news. I think this weekend it's supposed to go down back to like the 40s and 50s.
I won't be there in the weekend. I have to go to Canada on Friday for family function.
Your timing is very good then, because I think it is supposed to get chilly. Because the weather, Louis, we've had like about a 7 or 8 day stretch that's been marvelous. Like a lot of 70s, a few 80s, even in the 90s, a couple days, but no humidity and no rain. It's been very, very nice. So that's something for us here, folks who actually continue to spend time in Minnesota, feel good about. As we welcome you back, I want to start and to get your opinion on this ESPN announcement, just to get what your vibe is on the deal. So if you've not heard much about it, let me give you the details. They've announced a direct-to-consumer streaming service. They will call it ESPN. It's going to be all of its programming will be offered to consumers for $29.99 a month. No requirement of a traditional cable or streaming subscription. As I mentioned, they're going to call it ESPN. I don't know. I don't think they announced a formal launch date, to tell you the truth. The service will still be available through cable, satellite, and platforms like YouTube and Fubo, but fans won't need those to receive big-time events coverage like Monday Night Football, NBA, college football championships, and all of the network's games and shows. They're saying it's going to redefine our business, and if a fan subscribes to the main ESPN in any fashion, they'll receive all the program, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPNU, college networks, as well as ESPN Plus. So I guess this is inevitable, right? I mean, this is the direction this stuff is going in. I have no idea how successful it's going to be. Do you have any thoughts as a guy who's been obviously on the sports side of business for a long time, pay attention to these sorts of things? What do you make of this?
Well, I might be on the sports side, but I still would have a typewriter. So I don't know what you mean by just streaming. Does that mean that I don't have to go to all the different apps, or
Gaardsy, how would you describe do you understand the distinction? I guess it's standalone in this case, is what it amounts to, right? Yeah,
it's pretty much its own entity.
Its own app. So but it would be an app, right? It would have to be an app. It's literally the ESPN app. You could use through your phone or through a computer,
or your smart TV. You can usually just get it right there. Yeah. So
that's good to have one app. I like that, but I still need my TV. I have to watch news. I have to, I have to watch.
That's
Yellowstone, Mobland, whatever I'm watching. And that interests me as much as the sports, because I don't need all the sports. I only want the sport I want, and I get that just with the NHL Network now.
Sure,
I want that, So, but I'm sure it's going to be successful. First of all, because there's a lot of more people that use this stuff that understand it than I do. So there'll be a big market for it when you got all sports like that, and you're able to do it so easily and sounds cheap if you can get them all for $29.95 or whatever you said a month. To me, that's a nice marketing tool to be able to get the viewing audience they need.
The history lesson is offered. It's via an athletic story by Andrew Marchand, and he reminds us that cable, as it grew to the point, cable grew to the point that ESPN had 100 million subscribers by 2011. Operators charged customers what is now more than $10 per month for ESPN. This, combined with advertising, made it routine for ESPN to have more than $1 billion in revenue monthly. $1 billion. However, he writes, in the digital age, with Netflix, Amazon Prime, and others, subscribers have either cut the cord, or in the case of a younger generation, have never even considered adding cable or a cable-like system. So in the old setup, You had benefits for big and small channels. ESPN reigned supreme as it was on the so-called basic tier of cable or satellite TV, meaning anyone with cable was paying for ESPN even if they never watched it. So that's what's changed. A lot of people are rejecting that, and for that reason, a lot of the ESPN revenues that were through the roof at one point, I mean, they're not hurting, but it's nowhere near as big as it once was. So I guess this is the acknowledgement that, the world has changed, and we're not going to automatically get the money the way we did, so we're going to try to maximize it a different way as much as we can.
Well, that's why you got the problems with the Twins and the Wild, because FanDuel, they needed to be a station that you're going to pay monthly for,
right?
And then they have a problem with the carrier, and that's where you're at now. Maybe, just maybe, this is going to be an opportunity for ESPN to get in and grab all the baseball too.
Mm-hmm.
That, in situations like the Twins are, and a few of the other teams are around the league that have lost their carrier. So it seems to me that they're going to be in a position to get all kinds of sports in there, and what that means is the sports teams are going to be making more money as it is, and salaries are going to continue to go up, and the ticket prices are going to continue to go up. So maybe a lot of people will be watching TV because those prices. Look at the ticket prices right now. If you buy did I hear right that the floor seats at Timberwolves right now are $2,400 a game or $4,200 a game?
Might be more than that.
They're definitely well into that, and maybe again depending on the seat. Yeah, for sure. It's nuts.
My God.
Yeah, it
is nuts.
Yeah,
that used to be a season ticket.
Think about it. By the way, we talked about this before. What was the vision you guys had for a sports regional network that got started but never really took hold? What was that one? Refresh my memory.
Well, it was called Spectrum Sports.
That's
right.
right.
Started, I think it was 1991.
Yeah.
We were 50-50 partnership with the Twins. It was 81, and we were 50-50 partnership with the Twins. And in that run, we were doing really well. We had 76 playoff games in 7 years, and the Twins weren't faring as well, and everything was going along smoothly. And we were in a position to go into, at that time, there wasn't a national college contract that. To say the Big Ten, they didn't have their Big Ten network, and there wasn't a basketball team there yet, but it would be coming. Anyway, we missed the playoffs. It was 87, 88. Didn't the Twins win their first championship about 88, 89?
Their first 87.
87.
Yeah,
and we missed the playoffs that year.
Right.
So they came back and they wanted to change the deal. They wanted more than 50%.
That's right. I remember that. You talked about that.
And that's
before.
when Gordon Gentz said, no, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So they left the partnership and Spectrum went away, and it's never come back. I envision, had we kept that at the Twin State in it, we would have had a real good situation like they have in Boston.
You were ahead of the game then,
Yeah, with the Red Sox and the Bruins, they have a great setup there. Plus, they have other college sports on, some other things on there. But I think that was a big mistake that the Twins never continued in that partnership.
Well, as an example of how the market's changing, as I mentioned, in 2011, ESPN had 100 million subscribers. At the end of last year, Nielsen reported that ESPN had 65.3 million. Now, that's still a lot, but that's a considerable loss, and it does speak to the way people are consuming this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how successful this is. And as you say, maybe it's a function of age more than anything else.
Well, not only that, if you look, even the big channels, the CBS, NBCs, ABCs, they're all losing their audience. The streaming has just taken over everything because of you get people can get whatever they want just streaming. They don't need everything. And there's look at what I'm really concerned about is look at movie theaters. How are they going to continue to be in a position to make money when you got everything going on TV and streaming channels, and they're making so many movies and so many series, and it's you don't have to leave your house to be entertained, and so they're making it pretty difficult to get people to go to venues like a movie theater or sit at home and just watch the national channels when you can get news on so many different cable channels.
Let's all, by the way, I mentioned we'll take questions from the audience, observations, hockey-related. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is open at 64686. It can be wild stuff. It can be Stanley Cup playoffs continuing as well. If we take, because I do want to get to a couple other wild things because I got a couple of good texts on that. But if we move beyond the Wild to the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs at this point, what for you is the biggest jolt, the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise right now, it'd have to be Carolina's favored in the betting areas to win the Stanley Cup. And Carolina's good, but right now everybody, and if you watch some of the telecasts, especially when Lundqvist is on and he's talking about Anderson and goal for Carolina, being right now playing the best of all the goaltenders, which going into the playoffs, I would have said that wouldn't have been their strength. But he feels the way he's playing and the way he's handling himself that he's the best goaltender going. Well, if the Carolina gets goaltending to go with so many of the other assets they got, people feel that way right now. They're picked to win a Stanley Cup. I'm sticking with my two, Dallas versus Panthers, and I think the Panthers are in trouble. What would really be a jolt, where I think Edmonton easily could be in the finals, even win the Cup. Can you imagine if Edmonton and Winnipeg are in the finals? The viewership is going to be down 30% in the U.S.
That's a good point. Big in Canada. Of course, it's big in Canada anyway,
be
right?
Way big in Canada, but you got no people in Canada. You got 36 million people in Canada, in the whole country, versus 360 million. So their viewership will be way up in Canada, but relatively speaking, it's going to be down probably 30% over if those two teams make it.
Why is Edmonton up 3-1 on the team the Wild lost to Vegas?
Not surprising. That's why I remember when we were talking about going into the playoffs, where would you like to see the Wild go? And I just play Vegas. Because I still think, they were so close. They could have beaten Vegas, and I thought that was the easiest road to go. And I'm not surprised that Edmonton's dominating Vegas, because I think Edmonton's better than Vegas, by a lot up front, and their defense not as big, but it's still being very effective. And the thing that I concerned about the most was the goaltending, but Edmonton's goaltending has been more than satisfactory. So that's why Edmonton's capable of winning the whole thing. You got two of the four best players in the world when you got McDavid and Draisaitl. And so you start with that, and then they really went out and got some good balance up front. And so they got more than 2-3 lines. They got four balanced lines that are pretty good, and they could fill the net. And right now they're keeping the puck out of the net. So Edmonton's somebody you got to fear, because they lost it in 7 last year, and it was really close. They are certainly capable of coming back and winning it.
Good text coming in, including this one from Brant. I like Brock Nelson, but I don't want another high-priced guy over 30 on the team. A guy like Bennett from Florida should be the off-season goal. Don't spend just to spend and agree to more bad contracts. Guerin has been Fletcher-like with aged veterans just to keep the floor up, but never raise the ceiling. What do you think?
Well, I'd go after Bennett in a heartbeat. I don't think there's a way to get them out of Florida.
Yeah.
I agree with him, wanting to have Bennett. And I can understand his feeling. Nelson could still play, but yes, if you're going to get somebody in free agency, you'd like to be able to say, I want a guy that can have for 6-7 years. Well, Nelson, you have to look at it 3-4 years. So if you're capable of getting somebody that, because Brock could really play, and he plays well, and I still would like to have him on the team. But if you're telling me you get an opportunity to get a guy like Bennett, boy, that would be, I think something I'd be after. What he might do now, and it happened last year in St. Louis, was very successful in giving offer sheets to two of Edmonton's guys, and came in and played very well. He could be in a position to give offer sheets somewhere. Now, what I would like to see him do is give an offer sheet to Matthew Knies, because Knies is only, 23, 24? He's a terrific player. He's big. He's fast. He's strong. He hits. He scores. And, Maple Leafs have got 4 guys there right now that are in the $12 to $14 million range. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can afford to keep Knies unless they get rid of either Marner or Tavares. So that's the guy that I'd have my eye on to give an offer sheet and see if I can get him.
This from Dry Heat guy, hockey regular, Josh from Lakeville. I know Fleury is finally making his Team Canada debut at age 40 during the IIHF World Championships. I think it's absurd that it took so long. Is there any possibility that Flower changes his mind about retirement, comes back next year with another team, or will Billy G offer a management position?
Well, what he's forgetting is Flower was playing in the playoffs all the time. That's why he couldn't go to the World Championship.
Yeah.
And, goaltenders, you usually want your goaltenders there before the start. When you get past the second round, there's maybe an addition of 1 or 2 players, because you don't have to put that full roster in until about a week after the tournament starts. Because I've added players when I was running the team. Aaron, he played on the team, I know. But I think that's the main reason why Flower was there. He would have been there. But just take a look at his run until lately, when he ended up on the playoffs with Chicago, and then Minnesota last year. There wasn't opportunities for that. And do I think he'll come back? No, I don't. And will there be an opportunity with the Wild? Yes, there will. They're going to have to just determine what they think might interest him, and he's got to be happy about it. There's certain things he doesn't want to do, and I think he's not going to be a guy who's going to be traveling a lot, because one of the things he's really looking forward to is being around his kids for a while.
Also, we talked a little bit about the goaltending, I believe, for the Wild and the future there last week. But a texter is curious to get your view of the Wild's future at that position with Flower leaving. And a lot of this is we talked about Wallstedt's going to have to improve, right? I mean, if he's going to be the factor that they want him to be.
I think so. I think that he's got to make a giant step forward now, and because they're a little unsure about that, I really believe they got to take a look at signing another goaltender, and depending how much you have to pay him, where he is, where you play him. But I don't know who's going to be coming up. If you're thinking you're going to sign a number 2 to play number 3 down the minors, it's not going to happen. So what you're going to have to do, I think, right now, is you have to make an assessment of who's playing really well in the minors. And I could say, like, for instance, DePietro was goalie of the year in the American League out of Providence in the Eastern Division. And a guy like that who hasn't really played up yet, but's played well, and you have to take a chance of putting him in there as a backup, because you do need somebody. Unless you plan on shuttling the guy back and forth, and you're not going to be able to do that now, because Wallstedt's in a position where you're not going to be able to put him through waivers so easily.
Did you see the note that the NHL has suspended a Panthers minority owner because of a series of what are described as offensive social media posts? This goes back to Sunday. He's going to have an in-person meeting. He's been called into the principal's office. He's going to have to meet with Gary Bettman at a later date. He apparently got into it back and forth with a fan of the Maple Leafs, the Panthers' current playoff opponent. They got into statements about the conflict between Israel and Palestinians, reference to Canada becoming the 51st state, etc. It makes me wonder, Louis, if indeed X had existed when you were a general manager, Do you think you would have been gotten yourself into verbal brawls on this thing? Do you think you would have had the discipline to stay away from it completely? What would Lou Nanne be like during a tweet storm controversy?
I wouldn't have been tweeting. I probably wouldn't have even followed the tweet. I think that one of the things I think that you have to be very careful, both not only as an executive but also as a player, how much you get involved in social media, because the one thing you don't want to do is start getting in a position where things bother you to the point where you're getting your head in the wrong place for being involved in sports. And take too much of your time, energy, concentration, and get you off your game or off your planning. So I think that if I was managing today, I'd encourage the guys not to follow tweets. If you want to follow Instagram, where they're just pictures and they're not stories about guys as much, that's good. But to follow Twitter or what's that, TikTok, whatever it is,
yes.
I think I'd ask them to stay away from that for their own benefit.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes easier said than done for folks, but I think that's...
Well, if you're telling me it's a Panther minority owner...
Yes.
Well, I hadn't seen it. I'm surprised I hadn't seen a name here, but I'm not going to say a name, but they have a minority owner there. Their owner, Viola's great. He's tremendous. But there was a minority owner there that thought he was the owner sometimes. And a few years back, and I think he might still be there, and he came down to the locker room at the end of the second period to give the team hell.
Ooh.
And one of the assistant coaches threw him out.
Wow.
And at the end of the year, of course, he got fired, the assistant coach, and so did the coach. But this guy was getting himself in too many places where he shouldn't have been when he wasn't even a primary owner. The primary owner was up in New York, and this guy was down here a lot, and he wasn't too well received by a lot of guys in that organization.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. His first name is Doug. The last name is spelled Cifu. And he's listed here as the vice...
It's Cifu. I'm not going to say it's him, but it's Cifu.
It sounds like it might ring a slight bell. We'll leave it at that. He's listed as the vice chairman and alternate governor of Sunrise Sports and Entertainment, the Panthers, Florida Live Arena, and SEC's additional operating entities. The CEO of something called Virtue Financial, a financial technology server. You probably have investments with them, or you're probably making money off of some of their people, too.
I don't have any money. That's why I'm still working at my age.
I knew there was some explanation.
I'm enjoying life to the nth degree.
Well, welcome back to the Twin Cities when you get here, and then safe travels when you leave, because it sounds like you're just going to be in and out here pretty quick.
Well, I'll try and get in next Wednesday.
Yeah, come and see us one of these weeks.
I've got to go to Virginia Beach Monday and Tuesday for business, but
that'd be awesome.
I'll try and get in there and see you guys.
That would be much appreciated. Thanks, Luigi.
All right, look forward to seeing you.
Appreciate you. We'll talk again next week. That is Lou Nanne, brought to you by our good friends at Kemp's. You know, we have a lot of fun on this show over the years with sort of the corporate speak that has become a big part of, sports management. I must say that we may have discovered a sports executive outside this market who makes all of our word salad sports executives, no matter how much they want to talk about alignment and what's the other word we like? Collaboration,
culture, vision.
Makes our executives look at best like double A ball participants. We'll give you a little entertaining sound when we come back and cover a couple of other items as well. Don't go away.
KFAN and Sukup Manufacturing bring you Fan on the Farm. Starting May 19th, 9 to noon, we'll be taking your tractor talkbacks, and each day, one farmer will be chosen to receive a Sukup prize pack, including a Carhartt cooler, a Brewmate Growler canteen. You can get the full details at KFAN.com/farm. Sukup Manufacturing Company, helping farmers feed and fuel the world.
The Phoenix Suns have a new general manager. You might say, why do we care? We got a team about to reach the conference finals for the second consecutive year. What do we care about the Phoenix Suns? Well, there might be entertainment value, if nothing else. His name is Brian Gregory. And his main qualification seems to be that he knows the Ishbias.
From the Michigan State days.
That's correct.
Yes, he was an assistant with Izzo.
Have a lot of experience, other than I think he joined the organization in some fancy title not that long ago, and now they're putting him in charge of the basketball operation, which basically probably means nothing, because it's very clear that this is one of those teams, for better or for worse, that's going to be run by the ownership, and even decisions will be made similar, I think, to Jerry Jones. I don't think it's all that different. What could possibly go wrong? But he had last week an unveiling, the first press conference involving the new general manager, Brian Gregory. And as a program that has tended to chronicle press conferences in which fashionable buzzwords are thrown around left and right to fool people into thinking that the person speaking is really, really bright, really smart, and knows what they're doing, we felt it was in the interest of the show to give you a synopsis, nicely edited by an individual named Cameron Cox, who's kind of put this thing together. It went viral a little bit on some, I guess you could say, well, there was a few things rather repetitive, one could say.
You want the 3 words? Brian
Gregory. No, I want people
to hear them?
To hear them, and then we've got the count, and we will talk about them, because I think it'll become fairly obvious fairly quickly that there are 3 words in particular, one more than the other 2, actually, that Brian Gregory can't stop saying.
Building alignment, shape our identity, allows us to start the alignment, allows us to start building that identity. It's about building that alignment. It's about creating that identity, and it's about executing that vision. To execute that vision, do it with the alignment and the identity, building that identity and creating that alignment. That identity is very, very important. Create that identity, alignment, execute that vision. That vision we're talking about exactly aligned with that. Finding that head coach that is aligned. Our identity is, when I talk about alignment, there is complete alignment, creating an identity. When we talk about identity, we are completely aligned. Build the identity, the alignment that is so important, because that's the alignment. There's no way you can build the alignment. But Matt and I are aligned. But that relationship is founded on that alignment.
Of course it is.
Executing the vision that we've put forth. We share the same vision of what our team needs to look like. There's no way you can create that identity. Is the team aligned? Does the team know exactly what its identity is? The alignment piece, you can mark it down. That's a aligned decision. Maybe there isn't that alignment. To the fans and to you guys, I'm going to be held accountable to executing this vision. One other area that Matt and I are extremely aligned in, with the alignment of Matt, that will be an aligned decision.
That takes the cake, right? That destroys any of the ones you've tried to put together over the years locally. So here's the final buzzword count. Vision 7 times, identity 13, and not surprising, alignment 23. Now, I don't know how long this presser went.
But if it was 5 minutes or 10 minutes or a half an hour.
So do you think the individual, in this case, Brian Gregory, do you think he has any idea that how just insane and asinine the whole thing sounds? That if you keep throwing around those words, people are going to go, whoa, new sheriff in town looks pretty good. He's figured some stuff out. You just sort of, okay, well, let's just keep saying alignment, identity, and vision in various forms. And if you're really in the mood, put all 3 of them together in the same sentence as it pertains to maybe the relationship with his boss, the Ishbias. I have no idea, but that's got to shatter all the previous records for buzzwords in terms of repetition of said buzzwords in a single press conference.
Now, as sick as this is, I want to watch the entire press conference to hear if he said anything else at any point.
Yes.
Or if he just said that every single answer. It's like the 1,000 Points of Light Dana Carvey, George Bush sketch from like 1992, when every answer to the debate was 1,000 points of light. He just kept going and going and just hammering that talking point.
That's pretty much what it sounds like.
The second thing is, are we sure that Brian Gregory, does he have any relationship to Tim Brewster? His voice had a little bit of Brewster tang.
Yes, it did.
It just had a little bit of Brewster in it, I thought. Not a full Brewster, maybe not even a half Brewster, but a quarter Brewster. I feel like my preparation is so complete. Like it sounded like it.
Yeah.
That's how Brew would say alignment, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised. Now, remember when Brew's from Jersey, right? Which
he is.
Bothers Glenn Mason to no end because Mason's also from Jersey. He wants no part of that alignment.
Yes. And he says his accent doesn't make any sense.
That's the point, is that he went through a stage, and maybe he's still in it, where it sounded like he grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. It didn't make any sense, but he developed that Southern accent, even though he's a Jersey guy. So, God bless Brian Gregory, man. And look, he's obviously flummoxed the owner, and that's my guess is he's making good money in his new job, right? And
GM, oh yeah.
But think about this: if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, and you're going, God, we're in the morass here, man. We've got at least one untradeable player, or one player we can't trade unless he agrees to it. We got Kevin Durant towards the end. We change coaches every 15 minutes, and we need is somebody really, really accomplished and gutty who knows how to sort of fix this, like a Tim Conley type, right? Who's been through these wars, has got good experience. That's what you're looking for. And then you say, well, I'm going to listen to this new guy and see if he sounds like a guy who might be able to take us out of the morass. And you hear this
23 times.
And you go, what are we doing? We have no chance of making it better. There's no chance it's going to get better in Phoenix. None. Other than luck, like they just blunder into something, right. I guess. But there's no reason to believe that this clown is going to be able to do anything. And he might be an accomplished businessman for all I know. Because
no, he was basically a basketball coach.
Well, that's true.
He was an assistant with Izzo. He coached a game, I want to say for Dayton here at the Metrodome.
Izzo doesn't sound like this.
He does not. No, he does not.
Does he?
No, Izzo talks normal.
Yeah, he talks normal.
Yes,
he's got his own spiel, but it's not like this.
He talks like a good Upper Peninsula Michigan guy. That's Izzo.
God, that's so good. That is just so.
Yeah, when everybody there is just watching and going, so are we going to be able to trade Beal or not? Where in the alignment spectrum does the Bradley Beal contract factor in? What do you think we can get for Durant? What's the vision for that? That's all you really want to know.
So I wonder if they did any check on if he used collaborate, because maybe in his mind collaboration is the same as alignment.
Yes, but that might be the mistake because alignment and collaboration are very different. Yeah, and if you don't understand that, then you don't know.
I wonder if he used. So what are our other favorites? Collaboration.
Yeah, alignment.
Well, alignment is one of them.
The new one we like here is intentionality.
Intentionality is a big one.
You got to do it with intentionality.
That's
not by accident.
No.
You got to do it intentionally, but not even intentionally with intentionality.
Was that maybe the Meerkat's problem? He didn't do anything intentionally with intentionality? Is that or was he too intentional?
No, I think he had too much intentionality about the stuff that didn't matter.
That's probably true.
You have to be focused. You have to be aligned with your intentionality, and it's got to be the right alignment, and hopefully you get that out of collaboration.
That's just entertaining as hell. Whoever Cameron Cox is, he did a nice job putting that together. I found that very, very enjoyable. Let's come back, wrap up the show, remind you what you might have missed earlier and what we have coming up. A very busy week the rest of the way.
Tomorrow night, head down to Kieran's Irish Pub in Minneapolis for a Game 5 Ultra KFAN watch party with Zach Halverson. Kicking off the pre-party at 8 o'clock, and we've got chances to win prizes, play games, sample Michelob Ultra. You can get all the details at KFAN.com. The keyword is calendar. The show wrap brought to you, as always, by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper show wrap.
Thank you, Lou Nanne. Thank you, Mitch Lawrence, who joined us in the 3 o'clock hour of the broadcast. You can podcast the show later if you missed it the first time around, or if you enjoyed it so much you want to hear either of them again. Tomorrow, we will not be broadcasting from the cage because it's, again, a late start. I'm assuming the homies will be there, but we won't, and at least before the game. And still a very good guest lineup that will include some bonus Johnny Athletic. And Michael Grady is going to join the conversation tomorrow. Tomorrow being Wednesday, we expect Kessler as well. He will pretend to have known all along that the Wolves were in prime position to return to the National Basketball Association's Final Four. Fan on Demand and Dan Patrick will follow us on this particular broadcast. So the Pacers-Cleveland game has already started, and Donovan Mitchell is playing.
Yes.
I don't know how well, how hampered he is, but it's very early in that contest. And then it's the so-called pivotal Game 5, Okie City in Denver. There's a lot of smart money suggesting that Joker is going to have a huge, like a 40-20 game, because he has had so much difficulty scoring. Denver needs it. If they're going to steal back home court, they're going to need to have that kind of game, I think, from him for sure.
I liked what he said after the last game. They asked him about the defense. He's like, yeah, sometimes they play really good defense, and there's other times where you just shoot really bad. It's like,
that's it.
It's pretty honest. He's always been pretty honest.
He actually has been. He seems always annoyed to have to put up with it, but he's not like snarky. It's almost like, oh, I got to go through this again. By the way, Bucket's numbers postseason this year, this isn't workable for the Golden State Warriors if they were going to steal the series. I think with or without Steph being healthy. You go back to 2021, the last couple years in Miami, 21-22, he averaged in the postseason 27-4.
Yeah.
2022-23 Miami postseason, 26.9. Here, he's at 19.4. His shooting, by the way, percentage is also down from 51% in Miami the first time around, 47% the next. He's at 45.4, which isn't awful, but isn't particularly great.
I bet his attempts are down, too.
So, big time. He's down to 14 attempts. So, again, I don't know if he's healthy. I don't know if part of it, I think, is they've done a good job with him. And as you said, certainly he can be dangerous as a distributor. But even that, he hasn't been anywhere near as consistent on. He's at last year in 2022-23 with Miami, he averaged almost 6 assists. This year, he's averaging 5 assists. And let's be honest, part of the reason the Warriors are not going to be able to win this series or come back in this series is Butler he's had moments, obviously. He had one big scoring game, but not nearly enough to sort of stem the tide of Golden State's larger issue, which is they don't have anybody else that's scoring consistently, right? Or shooting particularly well. And I do think part of it is I think the defensive job has been serviceable to very good, depending on the situation. They've just done enough to discourage him from trying to sort of take over, because in Miami, that's what he did. His last 2 playoff runs, that's what he did, absolutely, very much a big part of the time.
If you were paranoid, anybody out there, about Steph Curry having a miracle comeback for Game 5 tomorrow, the Warriors have already announced, it's being reported by Sam Gordon, our guy, among others, that he is officially listed as out for Game 5 tomorrow.
Yeah,
so the Wolves could wrap it up without him retaking the floor.
I will get into this in more depth tomorrow. I believe they will, even though we know about the personality of the team. The only thing Golden State's got going in Game 5 is I guess they can play free and easy. And maybe you get a couple guys who haven't shot well, who just start jacking up shots and they go in.
Sure.
Right? But I tend to think the Wolves are going to end this thing, and then we prepare for a return, believe it or not, for the second straight year to the conference finals. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Believe.
Yes.
You're still worried, though, about
I'll always be worried.
Anything.
I'll always be worried, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah. Enjoy the evening and the nice weather. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.